What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 7, Episode 18. And it's called Chapter 135, For a Better Tomorrow.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending of the podcast. We're going to go through our recap roundups, your recap roundups. We are really winding down to the end here, so be sure to stick around for that because I know everyone really enjoys those.
As always, to our continued listeners and our brand new ones, if we're getting ones right at the very tail end of this episode, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into this episode. Girlfriend.
What did you think?
I'm like,
by your
finally.
vibe, I can tell you liked it.
Well, I'm, for more than anything else, I'm just trying to, now I feel like I need to hype myself up. Like, we're 3 episodes
ending.
out. Yeah. I'm just trying to I did a few jumping jacks before I jumped on. I need to keep it up here because it'll just be like this by the end of the episode. Yeah. But, you know what? It answered a lot of questions, a whole ton of questions. Could we have gotten these weeks ago? Girl, can I this whole season could have been 10 episodes realistically. Yeah, we got a lot of filler, especially toward the end of the series, this season. It answered a lot. I do feel like it's kind of in sequence to what they normally do. They give us all the answers by this third or second to last episode of the season, so it kind of fell into the line with that. The one thing I will say about this episode that really kind of annoyed me was the fact that they put it into black and white.
Why? I thought for sure you would love that.
I wanted to like it, but then thinking about it after, I'm just without it being that and having this motif, it would have just been a wrap-up episode. Do you know what I mean? So it feels like they kind of just
the motif. I didn't get why it's black and white.
Precisely. That's exactly what it is. It's just there's no reason to have it as a part of this wrap-up storyline outside of they're trying to show that there's a movie aspect to it, which I didn't really get it. It didn't make sense to me at all. I was I could have seen this all in color. It totally would have been fine watching this all in color. I did not need to see these sequences. And outside of the fact that it was black and white, they never lent itself back to it at all.
To the film aspect of it?
They weren't referring themselves to it. They didn't have not each one of them were stylized. We've seen them do these kind of an anthology-ish style episodes where every chapter is different, and they did it even this season with the Freaky Stories one that they did episodes ago. But each one was stylized differently. Each one had a different story. Each one felt different, and there was a different vibe to each of them. This one was this is the story, this is the title, this is the title, and this is the title, and this is the title. We're gonna do black and white whenever they appear on screen. Yeah, and I was just but why? There was no reason for it whatsoever. So that's my only gripe.
That's your only no. Okay,
no reason. Yeah. What did you think of the episode?
Okay, yeah. So overall, I just want to clarify. Did this episode, was it copying a film that was in black and white?
I mean, I think For a Better Tomorrow
is that a movie?
I don't know if it's a movie because I was thinking quickly? I was is it a Day After Tomorrow thing? Which is the story about the apocalypse, but I don't know.
A Better Tomorrow, 1986.
No, I don't think that one's it. I just saw it too.
Oh,
I think it's just one of those things where they would say it at the end of those educational films that they would play, For a Better to America. You know,
it felt no, for sure,
very Americana, educational.
But to your
movie.
point, I just didn't get the whole black and white part.
No, there was no reason
having said that, apart from that, it took me 25 minutes to even realize that it was in black and white. So I'll just say that. I was wait, where's the color?
Where's the color?
I was watching it on my phone, so it was a very small screen. But overall, I will say it was a really good episode. There were so many things that we took from there. And just coming off of I watched Oppenheimer a couple of weeks ago, which is about the atomic bomb and all of that. So I got excited. I was this is a sick storyline. And I started to watch The Americans a couple of years ago. Yeah. And this had very much the American, so there were cool things that they were introducing. But again, you're introducing it when the season is literally almost done.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I just didn't
Yeah.
understand why they didn't implant these little tiny hints in the beginning.
I
Because
mean,
they could have been very
there was a bit
no,
of lead up, but it just was
not to an
like
atomic
DDD and then boom. Yeah, definitely
bomb.
not to the atomic bomb whatsoever. But
Yeah.
like the lead up to like the Russian spy stuff, like it kind of all
Was
made
there?
sense. The fact
Like,
that
I was
he
so down for that, though. I was so
anyway,
down for them to be American, like Russian spies. I
yeah,
was like, this is
I feel
sick.
like we can talk about it, but I feel like with that one specifically, it was like the reason why the mayor, like Clifford, was probably doing that thing with the teacher, and the Red Scare was to like maybe like throw the scent off of Penelope, like, you know what I
Oh,
mean, to like show
yeah.
that he's like doing something about communism. I don't know. Anyway,
Anyways, overall, I do think it was all there. I kind of just wish, and it did really feel like they kind of got to this point and they're like, oh, let's do this now.
yeah,
Much like Riverdale always does, but I didn't
right.
hate it. So I was just like, oh, I wish you guys had just planted like a little bit more like
Few more
through the
things. Yeah,
episodes for us to kind of get like excited about this. But
right.
yeah, let's get into the episode.
Let's get into the episode. So it starts off with Jughead and his friends watching movies at the Babylonium. He's like, the good thing about having a girlfriend who owns a theater is I can watch free movies with my like. Okay, go.
We didn't get to talk about this last week, but like,
Yes.
what the hell is up with Jughead and Veronica now? Like,
Veronica!
why did it come back? Like, it was
Why
so
now?
weird.
Why here? Why now? Why are we doing this? I don't know.
I was like
don't know,
done.
Andy.
Like, and you and me were like hype about it. We were like, this is so cute. But then they just fizzled them out right
Yeah.
away. And we were
Right.
both like, we got closure, like it's over. And then now they're like fully back on. Like, she grabbed his hand going into the school. Like,
They're like doing the damn thing. Yeah, for
what
sure.
do you
Like,
feel about it
dating.
now?
I feel like I was down for it the first time. Like, we were
Yeah.
both down for it the first time. It fizzled out before we wanted it to fizzle out. So I get that it can like kind of come back around because like, but they made it so like iconic when they left. Like they left things. They were like,
Yeah.
and then she left, and then I was
Because
gone.
we were
and
never meant to be. Or
we were
something.
never
Like,
meant to be. But then they
okay,
just got back
cool.
together. So I was like, why do this at the very end of it all? Like, and I just.
Which again, sorry.
I'm trying to lean in, right? Like, I'm
I
trying my
know.
best to just lean into this whole situation. Forget about the ships, forget about the
Yeah.
romances, forget about the love triangles, forget about all the things that we've literally fucking built up for the past 7 years. And enjoy whatever this season is giving us.
Yeah.
So I'm still okay with it. I still like seeing them together. I still get why they're together. Like, I'm not like, oh wow, why are they still together? But even some of the characters of this episode, like Cheryl legit
She
was like, are you guys
she's like,
actually
are you
like
for real?
is that
Like,
for real? Yeah, like there is still a shock there, and I don't know why they're
to me,
I don't know why this was a choice that they made in this.
I don't
final
understand it.
few
Other than him
episodes.
being
I
like,
don't.
my girlfriend owns a movie theater. Like, I don't get it. And I don't understand
Right.
why. And this again lends to so many people saying like the order of the season feels so weird after episode 11. Like, things just went like off the rails. Like, nothing feels in order. Like, if Veronica and Jughead were together, fine, let them break up, but like have them like talk about each other a couple of times more, so like you feel like it's still ingrained potentially in a storyline. She was looking at Archie, she was looking at Betty, like it just veered completely away from that, and then they're going this way. So to me, it just doesn't feel like a well thought out plan, and that's what I don't like about it. If it felt a bit more organic, like I would have bought back right into it again. I would have been like, okay, cool. It's just not, it doesn't feel, and then like the whole Josie thing last week, like don't get me wrong, I freaking love Josie, but even that felt like, why now? Like,
right. We're just getting everything too late.
It's like too much. Like you waste I don't get it.
I loved that. I loved her in last week's
Josie,
episode. It was
like,
so good. But you're right. Like we
had a pussycat send off. Not to say that I don't want her again. It's just like she could have come like in the beginning of the season, like got everyone hype. Like
absolutely.
I'm just saying the timing of things has been very awkward this
for sure.
Part of the season for sure.
Agreed. I definitely feel like they've been milking out a few of these last couple episodes. Like I said, they could have made this entire season probably 10 to 13 episodes and called it a day. We might not have had these like extra stories, like
Yeah.
maybe not the Reggie story, maybe not the Josie story,
The Polly story.
the Polly story. Oh my god, yeah. So like
Like,
there's so many things that we just kind of got thrown this episode, that or this last half of the season, that I'm just like, we didn't need them, but we're getting them. They filmed them. Our
I
actors
guess
acted in
so.
them, so
Yeah.
like I guess it is what
See,
it is. Like we can't really say much past that,
and
right?
yeah, I don't want to spend so much time here, but we'll talk about this later too. Like even Ethel, like seeing her this episode, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were like done.
I
Like
thought
I
you were
literally thought we had
gone.
seen the last of Shannon Purser because it
Yes.
just felt like they had given her this really happy
A great
ending,
send off.
great
Yeah.
send off, and then like again she's here, and then
They're
she had a
like
send off again. I'm like,
another send off, and it was
okay,
also great, but it was like
it
another
was.
send off. Like
I just felt like we did already send her off.
we
So
did this already,
yeah.
exactly. And I'm just, anyway, we'll talk about
Anyways,
all
yeah,
this
yeah.
as we get through the episode. I'm just like, what the first sentence? You're like, hold on one second. uh,
Pause.
so anyway, they're watching movies in the Babylonium. As they leave, a man that looks like he's like melting, his face is like melting, his whole body, he's like coming at the guys in front of the theater. As they're about to like, as he's about to get closer, he gets shot by Tom Keller and he dies on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And Jughead is like, he looked like he was melting. And then it starts as like an old, like horror filmy black and white. This is where the black and white starts up. And it says, Jughead in the melting man. Like that was his like a story this episode. Anyway, Tom shoots him. He says like, oh, some random guy with leprosy. Like he was just like some random person. But then Jughead overhears Ethel saying to someone like, oh, like he's wearing the same thing that my dad was wearing when he worked at the maple factory. So like he works at the maple factory. Then Jughead goes to talk to Dr. Curdle Jr. and bribes him with a comic book to get a little bit more information. He finds out that his body had acute radiation poisoning.
Yeah.
But he didn't get a chance to like look at it closely because Clifford
like,
took the body, and it turns out that he was an employee of the maple factory. So like everything's kind of connecting. Then it cuts to the Cooper residence. Betty's going to school with Ethel. She's like, come on, girl, let's go. She tells Alice she's going to get her driver's license with Veronica and Ethel, so she doesn't need a ride for her mom anymore.
I was like, bitch, you still need a car. Like, who's going to get you a car?
Yeah, girl, like get it together. And then her movie starts, and it says like Betty in driver's education.
Loved it.
Like, okay. Then it cuts to the Andrews residence, and Frank tells Reggie he got into the best basketball camp for the summer, and then he kind of like rags on Archie, obviously, because he hates the fact that he's basically becoming a freaking poet. And he's like, oh, I guess they don't have any like camps for poetry. And then Archie's like, whatever, bro. And his movie's called Archie in Shipping Out. And then as whatever they're talking, Mary defends Archie, but Frank is just like still being a douchebag about everything. He's like, oh, you should have, like, I guess you should have just like stayed in on the team. Like you must feel some type of way about it now. Anyway, we all know that Frank is a dick this episode.
Beyond annoying.
I'm so over it. Then it cuts to the Blossom residence. Cheryl and Julian, as they're leaving for school, see their dad at the door with some military guy. They ask who it was, and he tells them that he got a gift from the military. And then he shows them the statue of Moloch, which is apparently an ancient pagan deity. And it's only satisfied through child sacrifice. And then her movie is called Cheryl in the Moloch Project.
I was like, is this gonna go to child trafficking right now? Like, where are we going? But then it obviously didn't. But I was like, what the hell? See, but this scene would have been a perfect scene to implant it like episode 12 or like episode 11. Like, why, just that little scene of like, what's he doing over there? Like,
right. That's it. You don't see these shady moments until this episode. Like, and to your
everything
point,
happens now.
Like, everything happened now. So you see, and maybe this is just my thinking now that I'm talking about it out loud. Maybe that was their idea of these like short films. Like, oh, we can package it into like a narrative that makes sense for this episode only. So basically, for anyone who didn't watch the show, just watch episode 1 and then watch this episode
Yeah,
and watch
you'll
episode 18.
connect.
You'll
Yeah.
get everything. Like
You'll miss
legitimately,
Polly though.
you'll miss Polly, you'll miss Josie.
If you blink, you miss them both.
You don't blink hard enough.
Even Tabitha.
Took hours long. Anyway, didn't even look up what this was because it didn't even reconnect to anything. There was no reason for it to be called the Statue of Malak. I don't know what the point of this whole thing was. Anyway, we'll talk about it later, but like, or maybe we won't. I don't know.
But wait,
why.
why is a child sacrificed? I still don't get that part of it.
I don't get any of it. Don't ask me, girl. I was he was like,
now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, it wasn't a child sacrifice.
there was nothing.
It's
There
like
was nothing to
radiation.
do with it, and like I thought, like, was that made out of radiation? Like, was that like what was it made out of? Like, they don't even really refer to anything. My assumption is that it was a gift from like the Russian government, but like,
But, like,
why?
Yeah.
Yeah, like why do I care? And also, why is it like representing child sacrifice? Like, I don't get any
Do
of
you
it.
think it has anything to do with like the fact that Blossom killed Jason, like in another parallel universe? Like he sacrificed his own child, or like he killed his own child or something.
Oh.
But like, what would that have to do with this timeline? You know,
I don't know. Yeah, it's
but
a
there's a
Canaanite
connection
god
there
associated with the sacrifice of children.
of children. That's why I was like, bro, is this going into child trafficking right now? Like, I can't handle this.
In the Hebrew Bible, Malak is presented as a foreign deity who is at times illegitimately given a place in Israel's worship as a result of this syncreticity policies of certain I don't know, something
Okay,
sounds
whatever.
like math.
But
Sounds
it could.
like politics.
I'm trying to pull at strings right now, but like it does sound like it could
That
somehow relate to Clifford. At one point in one timeline, he does kill his own child. So
yeah,
you know,
sacrifices his child for his own successes or whatever.
yeah.
And he does threaten the kids. I mean, he's like, if you misbehave, like I'll kill you. I don't know. I guess he just like threatens their lives. Anyways, whatever. That happens. She has her own movie. Cool. Then it cuts to Riverdale High. Jughead talks to Ethel about her dad and what he did at the maple factory. She gives him all this information. Turns out he basically
They couldn't even give Mandem a better job. Like they had to put him to janitor.
He was a janitor.
I was like,
and
savage.
So apparently he turned to alcohol, according to her mom, because he had joint pain, stomach pain. He was losing his hair, and Dilton overhears this conversation. So that's important for a little bit later.
Yeah.
And Jughead still wants to get to the bottom of it. He's like, I'm going to investigate. I feel like there's something going on here. But Ethel, right from the top of this episode, our girl, Ethel Muggs, is like, deuces.
She's like, I'm out of this town. I want my driver's license.
I need my driver's license, and then I'm out. I got my scholarship money. She got a boyfriend. She good. Yeah, she says that she's dating Ben. So like,
so
she
cute.
doesn't need the drama.
No,
move the F on, and
she doesn't even go back to the house to get her birth certificate.
Yeah, she's like, I am done with this town. Done. Anyway, we'll get back to that because she killed me this episode. I was like, poor Ethel, just let her go. Like, why are we
let her go?
Yeah. Anyway, in class, Dilton's dad plays this film, and it's like, this is what happens when an atomic bomb explodes. Yeah. And it's basically useless because like if an atomic bomb explodes, like everyone's basically dead.
Their conversation was hilarious because it's like these kids trying to understand like the severity of everything and like how they're like Veronica's like, I got a shelter under my house in Hollywood. I'm fine. It's like you guys aren't fine. Like you're gonna die.
You're all gonna die. And so yeah, that's what they talk about. Jughead basically like says that like it's the end of the world essentially if anybody hits Riverdale, we're screwed.
And he does talk about Japan. Like he does mention Japan.
What happened
because that must have happened. That must have already happened in that timeline in a sense.
When did Hiroshima?
You need to watch that movie, by the way. That was really freaking good.
Was it?
Yeah, it was 3 hours, and you know me, I don't have patience, but I actually like start to finish. It was amazing.
Oh, 1945. That's when it happened.
Yeah.
Hiroshima happened.
Yeah.
So tragic.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I do need to watch
it.
It's yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're like,
good.
I know all these things.
I'm like, no, you should say it because in the film they were really disrespectful about it. I was like, that's fucked up.
For sure, absolutely. Like, it's
anyways,
the atrocities.
That's all I'm saying is like the connection that they made. I was like actually like really into it because you know this whole movie came out. We've been talking about it. And it was intriguing to hear like their perspective because like they don't understand it. Like they're
Right.
like, oh, and then even Archie was like, oh, if I
I'll
go to
just drive
like
away.
California, like it won't pass like the mountains. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
They're like, no, 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 you're dead. You're basically
you're
dead.
dead.
You're dead. Anyway, so then it cuts to Kevin and Clay out like in the front
Can
of
I
the
just
school.
say shout out to Clay for literally carrying the season? Like he really has been in all of these really big integral scenes. Like even last week with like the whole Josie thing, like
Yeah.
he was really pushing so much ahead. And
Yeah.
he seems to really know about everything. Like even when we're talking about something, he'll like have something to chime
He'll
in or like he'll
know.
give his
Yeah.
perspective. Like he's always there, he's always around, and he always speaks up.
Right.
And he's filled this like empty void that I feel like if he wasn't there, something would be missing, I feel like, you know?
Because he's giving information to people like you
Because
don't
Kevin
expect
doesn't
it
do
from.
that.
Yeah, Kevin's useless. He's a
No,
gossip
yeah.
girl. He doesn't do anything else but that. Um but Clay, yeah, I feel like Clay
Yeah.
really did the damn thing
He
this
he does
season
it a
for sure.
lot and I'm like, wow, like I kind of wish he was there like the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah.
So anyway, Kevin and Clay are in the front. They're trying to tie a knot. And Archie's like, "Hey boys!" It was a cute moment,
It
just because
was.
like
Yeah,
Archie
yeah.
was really cute, and he's like, "What are you gonna do tying a knot? I'll teach you how to tie a knot." It's like, "Don't you remember Boy Scouts?" So he teaches them how to tie a knot. Then it turns out that they're gonna try to apply or try to join the Merchant Marines. Which is the gayest thing you could probably ever do
Because
in
I guess like they can't say the
1956.
Navy. I guess they couldn't say the Navy,
Yeah,
maybe. I don't
or
know.
maybe it is a part of it. I don't know. Maybe it
Oh,
is a part.
maybe,
Who
yeah.
knows? Um, they basically like are on boats or ships, and they travel the world, and
In
they
bunk
just
beds,
yeah, just in close quarters with each
bunking each
other,
other in bunk beds.
bunking it all the time. And Archie actually seems very intrigued, and I was
Yeah.
like, sweet. Into it. Then it cuts to okay. I put this down
What?
because I don't know if anybody else clocked this. I feel like everybody probably did because everybody hates Grundy at this point. Grundy is teaching the driver's ed class. Why
Yeah.
is Grundy the
I
one who literally the first episode of Riverdale, we see her having sex in a car with Archie.
Ooh.
So like car, Grundy, it's
I
like
just
not
think
a
they had no
moment
other actress to like be the teacher.
to be the
Having
person,
said
yeah.
that, if she wasn't okay at this point, do you still think they're gonna make Grundy and Archie a thing?
No, no,
No,
no.
because I don't feel like
That's
that
like
either.
no.
Especially
Especially
with it
last episode.
when
Last
she was like,
episode.
"You crossed the line, like don't go there." I was like, "Okay, good thing that she
Don't
said
go there,
that."
girlfriend.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? She was like,
Yeah,
"Calm
yeah,
the fuck
yeah.
down," but like, I really did like how she was teaching the girls how to drive. Like, I thought that was actually
Yeah.
pretty cute. Like,
I was into the whole idea of the class. I just thought it was ironic that she was the one teaching the class because
interesting.
cars.
I just probably think
Um
they had nobody else to do that at that point.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're all like practicing. They have these like cute little pedals at their like
Bruh, like
desk. And I
more
was
high
like,
tech than our like
I mean, ours was pretty high tech. We
ours
had
was
a
a car.
car, like an actual car.
Oh my god.
And they're going to be driving a real car the next day to like practice for
Yeah.
real. But everybody's super excited.
They
That's
were
so
so
funny.
cute too. Like they were acting so like nervous. Like the minute she's like,
Yeah.
put it in drive, put it in park, and they were
Yeah.
like, oh, like
And
as
she's
if
like,
like
stop sign. And then she's like,
yeah, yeah, it was
yeah,
cute.
it was cute. So then it cuts to the the Andrews residence, and Archie says that he might be interested in joining the Merchant Marines because he's like working out or whatever. Frank's like, oh, that might be a good idea because at least there's like no poetry. But then Archie is like, well, it would be an
for
opportunity
it.
to pursue my poetry because like, and he actually says that like there's a lot of people who like do that. A lot of
Yeah, like
beatniks
they
like go and
explore the
join
world and
and explore the world, and that's one of their avenues. And then he shades Frank, basically saying like, and you would know that if you even read a fucking book, bro. Like he
yeah,
like literally just like
yeah.
shaded him.
I loved it.
I was like, damn. I was like, if Mary wasn't there, you would have gotten slapped.
Yeah.
Anyways, then it cuts to Dilton going to visit Jughead, and Dilton basically is like, I'm so worried. I saw that you were worried about this atomic bomb, but don't worry. You're like one of my best friends. I'll take care of you. Everything will be fine. And Jughead's like, what are you talking about? Like, we're all gonna die if it hits Riverdale. And Dilton takes him down
Big
to the drum roll, the bunker.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a bunker.
Okay.
Cool.
I like that. I like that it connected like through Dilton. I thought it made sense.
It made sense, but it still doesn't make sense because like why
maybe
are you
he'll remember more things there, you know?
Like yeah. Oh yeah, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, like when he goes down there, like he'll remember everything.
Like reconnecting the bunker concept. Cool. So anyway, his dad built the bunker. He like talks about like this is what it's for, and he goes on to tell Jughead that a year ago Ethel's dad went to visit Dilton's dad to ask about like a piece of metal that he found to see if it'd be worth anything.
Yes. Yeah.
Dilton's dad finds out that it's called palladium, which we know what palladium is from Hiram's like storylines. And he said that he found like a ton at the maple factory and Clifford was going to do something with all of it. Which is why Dilton's dad built the bunker, because it turns out that, which we didn't know from like the original timeline, that palladium can blow up. Like
it's more than like hydrogen or like whatever the other thing is.
Like a hydrogen bomb, like it's like
more
a
powerful.
Huge bomb. Like it'll literally blow up the entire town.
Is that not what Hiram had said, or was Hiram just selling it?
I think it was like money. I think like it was supposed to be like platinum. Like that was their version of platinum, I guess. I don't think that there was any like explosive
component to that
property to it. No. So anyway, then as they're talking about this like bomb, like, or this thing possibly blowing up, Jughead suddenly has a memory. So to your point, this is something that they could have connected to us, so we could have seen this happen, because he was like, oh yeah, I remember when I was going through Brad Bradbury's stuff, I found this comic where he's talking about palladium blowing up an entire small town. Like, how are we only learning about this like right in this moment? This could have easily been planted as he was like, I don't know, shuffling through the stuff, trying to find like his wife's phone number. It could have been something when he was like, oh my gosh, what's palladium? Or I guess
he would have never connected it because he didn't know about the palladium.
Well, we could have connected it because we didn't even know what the fuck was going on. Like that's the thing, for the viewer, it's not for like, he remembers, good for him.
That's
we didn't even know about it, so like it feels just like a convenient drop of like didn't you know that that's why that was the connection? Because he goes on to say, like later, I don't think he says it right now, but he goes on to say that like that might have been the reason why Ray Bradbury he died. That guy died. Like he was killed because he knew too much.
He knew too much, yeah.
Which like that's a reach in my personal opinion, because I'm like, anyway, we'll talk about that later, because I think we'll talk about that in the wrap up. So he finds this, he's like, oh yeah, there's that story. Then there's like this sequence where people are screaming, there's an explosion, it's everything that we saw in the trailer. Cheryl being like, everybody get down. And then Cheryl wakes up from her nightmare, so because it's actually her nightmare, and she has to get a glass of water. So as she's like walking back to her room, she overhears her dad speaking in Russian about Project Moloch. Well, we know because we can read the subtitles, but she
has no idea.
She apparently has no idea, which I thought was really interesting for Cheryl Blossom, someone who comes from like a very like wealthy family. I feel like they could have made her learn Russian. I feel like like of the millions of languages that
but
Cheryl
think about
Blossom
it, if
learns,
they were
like,
spies,
one of them.
If they were spies, they would never have their kid learn, because like it's
true.
Like even good speaking point. It is like a flag for the government, right? Like you might be a spy.
Point. Like why are you teaching? Yeah, that's true. Good point. Fair. Okay, I take it back.
Got that one.
I knocked it off. Good job, scriptwriters. So anyway, we learned that it was about Project Moloch, and the guy that escaped the infirmary was the melting man from the beginning of the episode. And you find out that that he's talking to Penelope, because like you hear another voice, and then you find out that she is a possible Russian spy.
They could have done so much with this fucking storyline. Like I was living for it. Like I was living for it.
The waste that they gave Nat Bolt this season, it could have been so much better.
It could have been the Americans, literally in Riverdale. Like 100%. It would have been amazing.
You know what's funny? I watched it back like a couple weeks ago. Like I was like my husband was catching up, and we watched the episode where the English teacher got flipped. Like she got
She
kicked
got
out.
booted. Yeah,
She
yeah,
got booted, and before Grundy showed up, the interim person was Penelope. She was the English teacher.
yeah.
Like
Oh,
literally, Clifford is
yeah,
like,
yeah.
my wife Penelope will be the interim teacher. She even has like a moment where she takes off her glasses and she looks at the class. I'm like,
And
why
like,
didn't we get more of that? Like, did all of it get cut out? Like, we didn't get one freaking scene where she actually was the teacher to these students. She could have made such a big influence
yeah,
on these kids being a Russian spy. So to your point,
yeah,
the
yeah,
Americans, that whole idea of having a sleeper agent, like she could have been
yeah.
that person, and they just threw Grundy in. Like they
Even
really
like with the
didn't need
moms,
Grundy.
even like one day they could have put the moms together and like Penelope said something like really off-putting, and everyone's like, "What the
Exactly.
hell?" And like just like little hints like that. But now that you're saying that, like you're right that, and they tried to say that teacher was a commie.
Akami, yeah.
Yeah.
So like I just don't understand why they would have. And
They
there
just
were
could
just
have
a
made
lot
it
of
so much
opportunity.
better.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
could have made.
Yeah, yeah.
We're just like they could
Because
have
they
made
were
the whole thing
there,
way
like
better.
they chose a really cool like story, but like they just didn't like follow through with it all season.
It didn't go all the way. Yeah. So anyway, whatever. They're finishing their conversation. They hear a creak, but nothing really comes of it because like they think that their daughter is stupid or something. I don't know. Then it cuts to the merchant marine, like at the school, sharing with the boys, like the whole like, the up and down the 101 on it, being a marine. Um, and he does say like no one's guaranteed a spot. So cool,
Archie's like,
whatever.
"Can I like travel the world and like see different countries?" And he's
So
like, "It's not for pleasure, okay? Like, you calm
this isn't a fun ride, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like, bro, like go on a cruise if you really want to do that.
Yeah.
So then Riverdale, it cuts back to Riverdale. Jughead asks Cheryl about these abandoned mines that she mentioned when they were talking about like hiding, and Cheryl tells him, yeah, she's like they're like right nearby Thornhill, and he's like, can you do a little bit of snooping? I think your dad might be a spy. Like he basically
Yeah,
was
like
like, your dad's doing some shady shit. Like we need
go
to
check it
know.
out. And she's
Can
like,
you help?
"Actually,
She's
like
like,
I just
there's
heard them
some
talk
weird.
Russian."
Yeah, she's like,
Maybe
there's
I
some
should
shit
look
going
into this.
down. Yeah, maybe I should look into it. So then all the girlies get their driver's license.
It was so cute.
So
It was so
excited.
cute.
They do like
The
the park
parallel
job,
park
whatever.
was so cute.
Because I can't even do parallel park right now. So
Girl.
like, girl, don't even get me started.
Even with
Uh,
the rear of the view camera in the back, it's
yeah,
so
I was
fucking
like
hard.
stress. Yeah, 100%.
Oh my
But
god.
anyway, so what's her face? Grundy's basically like, oh, so now that everybody's passed, we're all gonna go take a trip to the DMV tomorrow. So just like get your birth certificates ready. Then I like close up zooms
Yeah,
on
like
Ethel's
this. I'm like,
face.
girl, what is up now? Are you a
Okay, what's
Russian
going
commie too?
I was like, where's your fucking birth certificate, girl? So anyway, then it cuts to Archie working out. He's super excited about the Marines. Frank comes in and he tells him somehow he just looked evil the entire time.
Evil. This
Evil.
whole episode, I'm like, bro, go get a fucking job, okay? Go to work. Fucking
Go
making this
do
woman
something.
pay the bills by owning a dress store. Like, go be a man and go
Waste
freaking go to
man.
work. He's just sitting
Waste
there
man.
yelling at Archie, being like, "You get new poems, you can't. Why don't you get a job?" Like, he annoyed me.
It's actually
so
so true.
much.
He could have at least like been like, oh, I work at a car shop or something. Like,
Something
he
like
just goes around and like does this to everybody the
literally
whole time. Like
at the
fuck
end
that.
when Al what's her face, Mary
like reads him.
because the whole episode I was like, Mary, you better
You
tell
better
this
fucking
motherfucker to
step
leave
this
the house,
shit up,
because I was
yeah.
wondering like, why isn't she just kicking him
Why?
out? Like, what is going on? Like, is he paying the bills? Like, is he providing for her that maybe like
Yeah.
she feels bad to kicking him out?
Right.
But no, she's doing everything anyways.
Legitimately doing everything. Anyway, so he comes in and he looked like he was like on drugs. Like I don't know if it was the black
He
and
was
white
like
or what it was.
sweating, like he was like,
Yeah.
I gotta get this guy off poetry.
Yeah, he's like he's like, you gotta join the army right now, just like your dad.
And like the way he said it was fun. He's like,
Jesus.
Archie, look what I got.
It was weird.
And Archie's like, are those my dad's dog tags?
So mean, but at the same time, it's just like that's exactly how
He
it
was.
played
He was like
out.
dangling like a carrot. He's like,
This is for
don't
you.
you remember these? He's like, oh, my dad was in the army. He's like, weren't you? Nah, he didn't go to the army.
Fucking waste, man. Fucking Frank sucks,
Also,
man.
why would he have the dog tags? Like, wouldn't Mary have that?
Yeah, yes, that's what I was thinking
Like,
too. I was like, what
literally.
they got shipped to Frank and Frank gets to
Yeah.
keep them, or did Frank take them
I
off of
thought maybe
Mary's
she would say,
dresser?
like, wow, he took it from my dresser, like, next to my bras.
That's Snoopy Doopy.
Oh my God.
That is hilarious. Um,
It just, yeah, it did
anyway,
feel very, like, conniving and, like, evil.
yeah, it felt like he was
Yeah.
doing something really, really, really nefarious, and I was like,
Yeah.
what is wrong with you? Um, so he goes on to like try to persuade him to join the army. He gives his dad his dad's dog tags, and he does mention that his dad joined the army voluntarily. Like it wasn't a draft. He was like he
Yeah.
joined voluntarily, and he's like, "Don't you want to be like your dad?" And he's
There
like,
were
"The
so
best
many
thing about
layers to
so
this.
many layers. Like it was so extra added,
Yeah.
add
Because I was
onto
wondering
this."
what he was getting to by saying like Fred volunteered, he didn't get drafted. I was like, okay, so what? Like, what's the and then he
Right.
said like, you could do that before you graduate high school. I was like,
Yeah. And
wow,
like, so
is
now
this
you
guy
want him to drop out of
serious?
high school? Like,
Yeah,
I just felt like all of it was weird.
it was too
Frank was just being weird.
extra.
It's like he was possessed because we got a weird, like, weirdness about him all season. But this
This was
particular
like too
moment
much.
was like very weird. It was like,
Yeah,
he has some, like we just said, the whole thing, dog
yeah,
tags, like, it was just weird.
yeah.
So he tries to get him to join. Then it cuts to Cheryl sneaking into her dad's study.
Oh, this is so good.
Yeah, I love this moment. I just feel like Cheryl like with a candlestick, like just give her all the awards. Like she just like
I was like,
she
girl, could
needs
you
to
not have
be
found
in
like a
it.
better like torchlight? Like it's like the 3-wick candle, like
I
it's gonna fall over.
she's wearing like a negligee. She's just like floating around. So she sneaks into her dad's study and she finds like a miner hat in one of the drawers. So she's like, that's sketchy.
Random.
Then she like feels a draft by a painting in the wall, and she was like, "A draft?" Like literally, like the candles like
Yeah.
flapped, and so she presses the door, and then she finds out that it's a secret
Secret
room.
room.
And instead of the red wigs, you remember that reveal of the red wigs?
Yes. Oh my
I
God, the wig.
it still takes me out. That moment
It's like
kills me.
traumatizing. Oh my God,
It's
his
traumatizing. It
wig.
was so.
Ugh.
I hate that moment so much because like him without the wig on
And
scared
yes.
me.
Yeah, it
Ew, this
was
is the
so
scariest
weird.
moment of
And like
all of
for
Riverdale.
months, I was like, his wig is showing.
And then when it was the wig, we're like, oh my god, it was terrifying.
Like
Anyway, same kind of vibe,
the
but it
fact
was
that
with
that's the
Milkman.
scariest thing that we've seen in Riverdale.
Yes! Jump scare, MB. Jump scare.
I can't.
Oh my god. So anyway, it was the same kind of vibe as that room, but it was a bunch of milkman outfits and like the
But
empty
why was
milk
there
bottles.
more than one? I don't get why there was more than one outfit.
They don't really explain it by the end of the episode, but my theory is that he like uses employees or just like hires hitmen to wear
To go kill
these
people?
like milkman outfits.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. You're right, because why there are multiple ones when we only saw one milkman.
And he never came back. Like another one never came back after that.
Yeah,
you know?
it was always the same one over and over again. And
Yeah.
like it didn't continue, it didn't persist. Like, so the fact that there were multiples means that he could have technically killed more people. And if he was smart enough, he would have tried to kill Jughead a long time ago.
From the beginning.
Like
Literally.
from episode 1. So that was a fail on his point. Like if you had an army of people, like assassins, to go around killing people in these milkman outfits, why didn't you just do that? Like
that's a very, very good question.
anyway.
Very good question. I guess
Anyway.
also maybe because like he's a
He's the
Russian spy,
mayor.
like he can't like be like he can't make too much noise. I don't know, like
But then why
They're
have
never
it
gonna-
in
they're
the
never
on the
gonna answer
ready?
that.
They're never
Yeah.
gonna answer it. It was just like a gag moment, I guess we were supposed to
Yeah.
have. Anyway, then it cuts to the next morning and Archie gets ready for school and he looks at his dad's dog tags on his mirror. He's like, he like remember who you are.
Remember.
And then Archie comes down wearing
His dog tags.
his dog tags. He's literally like, hey mom.
Hey mom, the waffles ready yet?
They're literally swinging around. He like had to put them on the outside of his shirt. He's just like, hey, Morning, Mom.
She's like,
can you pass me the milk?
She's like, what's that?
She was so goofy. She's like, what the fuck? She's like, are those dog tags? Those
This woman was slaving
tags?
away over that stove. Like, did you see the amount of waffles that she made?
She's out here doing the work, and he's
everything.
grabbing the fucking dog tags from fucking waste ass Frank, who's doing God knows what, literally fucking the dog. Like, who know the fuck he's doing?
So what does she say to him in this moment?
She's just like, why are you wearing his dog tags? And then he's like, well, I need to talk to you about joining the army.
Well, if you didn't know from me wearing these dog tags,
I need to talk to you about joining the army. Oh, anyway.
This was like the semblance of Archie that we've had to deal with all series. That like annoying like flip-floppity Archie who like doesn't know so he's doing everything because he doesn't know one thing to choose. Because all season he's been amazing, but this moment I was like, Archie, just stop. Like just be one thing. Like
just be one thing. He's just always everything, always, all the time.
Yeah.
It's like fucking hell.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah. The story of the white cis male, like everything everywhere all at once, always wants to do everything everywhere all
because he thinks he can do it all.
Because he thinks he can do it all, take over the world, bitch.
Yeah.
Anyway, then it cuts to the Cooper residence, and Ethel tells Betty she needs her birth certificate from her house that she doesn't want to go into because her parents are dead and
because they were murdered in the house and she had murdered in the house. She's like, I gotta go back. So I was like, where are they going with this? Because at this point I had no idea. I was like,
same.
Where are they leading Betty? Is she gonna die? Like, is she gonna get murdered again in that house? Like I was starting to get worried because I just didn't understand why are we going back to the house?
Right. But then it all makes sense.
Did you have any idea?
No clue whatsoever. I was just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like Betty, like it was such a quick scene that I was like, okay. Betty's like, yeah, I'll go grab it after school. No big deal. But you're right. It did kind of feel like a setup for something. But
it did.
I mean, it was a kind of setup for something.
Yeah.
So then it comes to Riverdale High. Cheryl shows. I just read my note and I remembered. Like she's like, I went into my dad's room. And she's like, he's up to something. Here. She literally like from her purse.
Here.
It's literally like
it could have been like from the store. Like how does it prove that like it's the milkman's milk bottle?
It's a milk bottle. She brought that to school. She snuck that out of that room.
Like, isn't your dad gonna realize like one is missing? Like
she's like, actually, this is a dupe. She's like, this is a dupe. I got it from my fridge, but like there are multiples.
This is what it was.
This is what it looked like. This is a representation of what
I don't need evidence. Like, I'm good, girl. Like, I believe you. Like,
I'm dead. And the fact that it was an empty bottle of milk, like
and it was like huge too.
Huge. Like, why are you putting that in your backpack? Just go grab. Like, you could have grabbed the hat, the mailman hat.
Oh my god.
I just thought it was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
It's because it's such a popular item. Like, it's a milk bottle. Like, you could have gone to the store and got one and brought it to school. Like, if she took like the hat or something to be like, look what I found. Like, it's evidence.
You would grab the minor hat. For God's sakes. The milk bottle.
The set people were like, oh, we already packed away the mailman outfit. We don't have it. You gotta just use the milk jug.
It's not going to show really well on camera, so we're just going to get you to pull out a giant bottle from your bag.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, man. So then she tells him that the mines are actually palladium mines. She's like, yeah, you were right about that. And she's like, let's meet after school. Let's go there and
also like sorry, not to be like technical, but like how would she have gone down there if it's radiation? Like she would have to wear like crazy gear.
I mean, I guess the assumption is it's not radiation. It's just like explosive.
Oh, it's just the stones that they're gonna make.
Like that's different from like the atomic bomb. Like I don't know.
True.
When it blows up, maybe it's radiation.
It's not like the real format. It's just like
I
got it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like radium. Anyway, so she's like, let's meet after school. Then it cuts to Betty finding the box that Ethel. She was like, because Ethel was like, go up to my mom's room. She has this like random box. She puts a bunch of stuff in it. Grab that. That's probably like where the birth certificates are.
Yeah.
Sure enough, Betty opens it up and she starts looking into it, and all she sees are receipts, and the receipts are like paid by Hal Cooper, like her dad.
Yeah.
And then if we didn't need like more information,
Why? At that point, did you know something was up?
at that point,
I still didn't know anything.
no,
at
I
that
still
point.
actually I still didn't know.
Yeah,
And
like
then
I
I
was
was
like, wait, what?
gagged with this reveal.
Yeah.
It's Hal holding a picture of a baby.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, first of all, I didn't like that
Okay.
reveal. I wasn't a fan of that reveal. I was still gagged. I was like, oh snap. But then I was also just like,
Why?
ew.
No, I was just like, why? No, truthfully, because like, yeah, you're right. Like, I was gagged. I was like, oh my god, okay. First of all, it's like so not surprising that Hal would have an affair and like have a baby by like someone else. The other thing I was just wondering was like, why? If you're already gonna get rid of Ethel at this point, like she's leaving the show, like I didn't understand why they had to make it like a Betty stepsister moment. Like, I just didn't get the why.
I think that I feel like they still did the step sibling moment because Charles was in the original series
right
for Alice, so I feel like it was like a flipped storyline for Hal to be the one.
Got it.
That's literally the only reason why.
True.
Outside of that, like I was like, okay, I guess I'll take it, and I guess it all kind of like
they tried to wrap
itself up in a way that makes a little bit more sense. But
they tried to wrap it, I think, with Alice in terms of like, she's like, Mom, now I know why you did it. I still didn't know why she did it. I didn't understand that.
We have to talk about that as a separate
because I did.
moment,
to me,
I need
that
to
didn't
talk
justify.
to you about that.
To me, that didn't justify why Alice was the way she was. Like,
anyway, we're gonna talk about that right like in a few seconds because ridiculous. So yeah, gag with a baby, Hal, cool. Then it cuts to the Andrews residence, and then they're all having dinner. But essentially Mary jumps in on Frank. She's like, what have you been saying to my son? You're trying to get him to join the army. You're such a fucking weirdo. Like, what are you doing
she had
here?
enough. Like, it was done.
She was like, now we're done here. You're trying to like bully my son. Like, we're done. She kicks him out. She's like, you have to leave now. And then Frank,
when she said, she's like, it's time for you to go, I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I like, it's as if I was at that table and I was like, he's got to go. Like
everyone's like, celebrate.
Yeah. And then on top of that, because she was like, you don't pay the mortgage, you don't do this, you don't even do that. She's like, why are you even here? I was like, yeah.
I was like, why was he even there?
Are you here?
You tell me. You invited
living in your dead brother's house with your dead brother's wife.
Pathetic.
Leave.
Loser.
And then what did he say after that? It got even worse.
He was like, well, who's gonna be the man in the house? Fuck this guy.
And
honestly,
Murray's like, me.
Yeah.
I am the man.
She's like, I have the biggest balls in this fucking household right in this moment, so I'm the fucking man.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially Mary is like, bitch, I don't need a man, because Archie does step up. He's like, I'm gonna bring the man in the house.
Yeah.
And Mary's like, not that I need your help, but I'm fine. In another series storyline, I am also a lesbian, so watch out. And I joined the army, or no, her girlfriend.
So from there. Okay, and then after Frank's like, I guess I'll just go live with like Tom Keller, because his wife did the same thing to him. And I was like, okay. What? Like, you're such a loser. Like, go live with a loser.
The only way that they would be redeemed for me is if Frank and Tom became an item. Like, they just secretly got gay together.
Go there. I knew it.
Listen, at the end of the day, if you want to talk about how it all works out, I'm like,
yeah,
that would, I mean, it would make sense to me technically. Like, true. Frank's all about like masculinity, and like Tom's like masculinity.
So yeah.
Yeah, they like wrestle each other until they're naked. You know?
Yeah, no, but I was like trying to be like, are they making a slight at like Kevin's mom, that like, could she be gay too or something?
Right, but that's what I mean. Like, maybe it was like a flip. Who knows?
True. Yeah.
Because I think some of our listeners were even saying that like maybe they would have flipped it in this world, and Tom was the secret gay guy in this one. Yeah.
Why was his mom gay in the other version?
No, I think it was referred to that like she was possibly gay in this world, like in this timeline, where she's like, I get it, I'm divorcing your dad. A lot of our like listeners were like, either she's doing that or she knows something about Tom that like she's like, he's the gay one.
Yeah. Like, ooh, maybe you're right about that then.
I mean, I would love if they were holding hands by the end of the season. I would be like, you guys won. You guys won.
Like, favorite season ever. It all worked out.
That's literally RES's like final sequence. It's just like gays everywhere.
Gay.
Yeah, everyone's gay. Yeah, that was his fucking dream from day one, probably.
Literally.
Oh my god. So then it cuts to Betty confronting her parents about this whole thing. Like right at the top, she just walks in. She's like,
Yeah.
"So,
I know what you did last summer, and I
what is this?"
know now.
She's like, "Show me all the receipts." And he does try to lie, but Alice is like, "Bro, fucking shut up."
Alice
You don't know
is like, I am
useless
done
shit.
acting.
She literally should have said "shove it, Hal" in that moment. I would have died.
Yeah. Oh my
They
god, I
could have
would have
referred to
died.
something. So anyway, so he starts, she's like, Alice, like, forget it, stop talking. I'm gonna talk to Betty for a second. You go for a fucking walk because you're a loser.
Yeah.
So then it turns out that he had an affair with Ethel's mom while she was like the nanny
cleaner.
or like the cleaner.
Yeah.
And then got her pregnant. Alice essentially said like she wanted them to keep it a secret because she wanted to pretend that she like lived this perfect life with Hal. Blah,
and like
blah,
the
blah,
TV
blah,
station wouldn't be okay with like him having an affair, so like all
the
that
bullshit.
like
But,
all
like,
the bullshit, like typical
it just
bullshit.
it still didn't make sense as to why
No.
any of this even made sense. So they kept it secret and they like offered to pay for the daughter up until they were like she was 16, like for Ethel.
Yeah.
Which, first of all, that is the stupidest deal of all time.
Yeah.
I would have just been like, girl, no, I'm gonna fucking, and I would have been at the Cooper's house every single day. Pay up, bitch. She's really, really expensive. Pay up. Like, girl, like, what are you doing trying to pay off your friends? Being like, can you raise this illegitimate child?
What do you mean? So many people probably did that back in the day. Because they're rich, horrible. Right? So they're like, we could pay anyone off.
Yeah. So then whatever, they kept paying her, and then Betty, this is when the exact moment that you were talking about, like, Betty now understands. She's like, now I get it, mom. Now I understand why you've been so hard on me. And I put in parentheses, why? Betty's taking this all very well. Like, she's sitting there like, no, like, Mom, you make so much sense.
Like, Mom, I understand now that you had a illegitimate child with dad. Like, he had a kid and, like, you supported him and, like, why?
Girl, what?
Why? Like, but why? So, but why did she slap you? Why?
Why did we need to see that?
Like,
what was the point?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I wish that Alice got here on her own instead of Betty having to be like,
I got you now, Mom.
I got you, Mom. It was like,
yeah.
You were getting there, Alice, on your own. We were like starting to like you legitimately. This could have been an easy win for her to be like, I need to tell you something else.
And I'm sorry, but like for Alice to sit there on the couch and be like, Hal, it's time we tell her. Like, are you kidding me? Alice never backs down. Alice never gives up. She's so stubborn. She's going to sit there and be like, it's time to tell her
we
the
lost
truth now. Like, yeah, like, are you serious? Like,
I mean, I know that she wouldn't have tried to fight that because that's like irrefutable. Like, it's literally like a picture.
But like he said, I'm her godfather. Like, I believed it.
She's like, you, like, what? No way, man. Fucking no one even knew what Ethel's last name was before this fucking girl walked in through the doors. But anyway, it's just all very awkward. And so Betty / the writers pinpoint specific moments as to why we should believe why Alice was being mean to her this whole season. She was like, now it makes sense why Kevin, you wanted me to be with Kevin, which still doesn't really make sense.
That did not make any sense to me. Because what, they don't
want him
have
to
sex?
be with a homo? Are you talking about?
Because they're not going to have sex?
That's what I mean. Like,
that doesn't. It was weird. And then like
so
the whole Polly thing, like
no, there was no exactly why Polly. Was it this whole idea of like just like Alice is literally trying to shove down the idea that everything's perfect, which I guess is a mirror to her real character. She was always like stuck on being perfect. You know what they really should have had in this fucking show? If they were going to make Alice this motherfucking damaged, I would have liked to meet her parents. Like, the tea is, we should have seen how her parents treated her, because then that influence does like lead into who she is as a person. Because like at the end of the day, Betty goes like, oh well, you did the best you could, you did what you thought was right. I'm like, but did her parents teach her to be like a fucking crazy like, why? Like, what was the reason?
I don't know. I just didn't buy any of this. Honestly, like, if they had just left it at the Polly thing and just been like, this is the reason why Alice was so worried because of Polly.
Yeah.
It just I think I would have believed that and I would have been okay with it. I didn't need this other layer of like Ethel being her stepsister. Like, it was just weird.
I do feel like they just let Ethel have this last little bit of time to like just I don't
But
know.
like she
You're
could have
right.
just left. Like
You're
I
right.
wouldn't have known otherwise. She to
You're
me,
right.
Ethel was already gone. Like I really did say
She left.
like I already did say my byes to her because I felt like we got a beautiful ending for her. She got to be this pageant queen. Like that was
You know what it
it.
feels like, MB?
It was
It
just
feels like
weird.
they wrote the last episode, realized that they needed to fill another episode in, so they put that
Maybe.
like whatever the ball one in, and then adjusted
I bet
the
you're
final
right. I bet
this
you're right.
episode,
Yeah.
because you're right, she got two endings. There was no reason for her to stick around, but then they were like, but
Yeah.
in the finale you find out that it's like all these multiple writers being like, but in the finale you find out that Ethel's her half sister, and then they're like, oh fuck no, like,
Yeah.
but we already wrote this fucking
Yeah. We already
pageant
sent her
episode.
off.
Yeah, we already set her up. Oh, okay, I guess we're gonna both
Okay, give
just
her a
film it
boyfriend and let
all.
her drive away in a car. Okay, cool. Like it just
That's what
felt
it
so
feels like. That's
weird.
literally what it feels like.
Yeah, and maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
I'm like, am I wrong? Like, where's
Like
the lie?
probably not.
Yeah. So anyway, so they essentially finished the whole thing with, you're right, I didn't buy it. Didn't think that that was enough of a reason for me to redeem Alice's
No.
character. It got me like, it didn't even get me closer. Like, it just got me to be like, okay, you should have just left it at the slap and called it a day. Because like,
Yeah.
honestly, let's like move on.
Or to your point, have Alice be the one that recognizes and like tries to redeem herself, not like Betty
Yeah.
finding literal receipts and having to approach her parents.
Literal receipts of this like fucking hell.
Literally,
Actually,
yo, this woman kept the receipts for like 20 years.
20
Oh my
years,
God.
Jesus, every single one. Holy.
Every single one.
And the worst part about this whole, anyway, we'll talk about it after. They say they need to tell Ethel, but then my question was Hal involved in that murder? Was he like just put a hit on the mom? She's too much like, liability.
I don't think so, right?
You think that like it was all just Clifford dealing with that
Probably.
shit? Okay, so they weren't working together, Hal and Clifford.
I would say no at this point, and maybe that's why, because like maybe now they'll say like, oh, Hal, that's his daughter. Like he wouldn't
he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's like, I just don't want you in this house.
Yeah.
But and actually, before we move on, that is the one thing that I also can't redeem Alice from. She treated Ethel so horribly.
I know.
The entire fucking
and like
time.
we should have known. Remember when I said it in the beginning, I was like, why is Hal being so nice to her? Like he was like, she's gonna go to like he should, you know. I remember saying it. I was like, he's being so nice to her, and like Alice is being the one that's like kind of mean, but like legit didn't think anything like this.
But then later on, you find out that Alice says that it was Hal's idea to send her to Sisters of Quiet Mercy.
Yeah, to get her out of the house, because like
get her out of the house. But then why was it the flip?
Like, awkward.
Like, did Alice not care? Does she hate Ethel? Does she like hate her mom? Like, was it like a fucking Catelyn Stark moment? Like with Jon Snow? Like, girl, like, I don't know. That would have been good.
If there was an inkling, like a small, tiny inkling that this could have happened, that pageant episode would have been so much more emotional.
Yes.
That pageant episode would have made me feel so many things of like Alice looking at her, and like, even though it's not her child, like it's still in a way of like, I care about this girl. Like I want her to succeed. She's still like, you know, my daughter's like sister. Like that would have been so much more emotional had we had like an inkling, like a little hint.
Yes,
maybe it wouldn't have been confirmed, you know.
100%.
And it was such a waste, in my opinion.
You know what? I just remembered, and I just said it, but like, do you remember that moment from Game of Thrones? Catelyn Stark telling that story on the road, and she talks about how Jon Snow, like her husband came home and she was cheesed and she hated this baby, but then she was like, this baby's innocent.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been the moment at the pageant. Oh my
God. Yeah, you're right. No, you're 100% right.
You know what I mean? Like for Allison, we would have, because I still remember that.
Like, don't punish her, you know?
Don't punish her. It's not her fault.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been fucking good. It would have been
so good. Yeah.
That would have been good goddamn television.
Which again makes me think, to your point, I bet you they wrote this in after and just were like, we need a filler. Like, what else can we put in here? Let's get her Ethel back and like finish it off, you know? Like, it was just weird. Anyway.
Just weird. Anyway, moving on. Cheryl and Jughead sneak into the mines. We'll get to that in a second. Then it cuts to Ethel finding out. So she's at the table with the Coopers. They're all talking about it. And they're like, okay, Ethel, we're going to try to make this right.
Yeah, you can be in our family now.
Want to officially adopt you. Yeah, after all y'all, she's like, she sat there, the most motherfucking patient woman I've ever seen. And like, literally Mother Teresa. She's like, no, thank you.
Like, Alice made her fucking assistant, man.
Dead. She didn't even want, she was like, you are Cinderella. Go sweep the fucking floors, girl. legitimately treated her like shit. And she's like, "You want to be adopted by me?" I was like, "Girl, what the fuck?" And if we had not found this out,
they would have done it.
They would not have adopted her.
They're actually delusional, like narcissists.
Fucking white savior complex.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Psycho.
I was like, you know what we're gonna do for you? We're gonna adopt you.
After you literally sent me to Sisters, after you found out, after we got, we're gonna fucking save you. Don't worry. After you got a scholarship, after you got a car, the audacity.
Yeah. Now they're like, we don't gotta pay for this bitch's school. Like, let's adopt her.
She's like, but you gotta pay for the bills. But you gotta pay for your rent when y'all here. Oh my god. And so Ethel finds out at this moment, she's just like, no thank you. She just like sits there very quietly.
I'm gonna have to reject.
I'm gonna have to reject that offer. I just want to be happy.
I love it for her.
I love it for her. But the thing that killed me, the scene ends, and I'm whenever they like put in a detail, I'm the type of person that like needs to know like what's the follow through if I catch it. And I just wrote down, is anyone gonna give Ethel her fucking birth certificate? Yes or no?
Did she get it in the end?
No. How did she get her birth certificate?
Maybe she didn't need it. How did she get her license then?
I'm telling you.
Because she was driving at the end of the episode.
That's what I'm saying. They could have just... You know what would have been a good fucking moment? If Hal was like, I actually have your birth certificate.
I've always had it.
I had a copy. I had the log form.
Oh my god. No way. Like, no, that would have been so savage.
I would have died. No, but I would have been like, okay, then at least that's a moment that we can get to get this fucking birth certificate done. But like, now we don't know how she got it. Even if she could have fucking, and I know it's such a small detail, but it just kills me. Even when Betty opens up the box, she could have seen the birth certificate first. Yeah,
that's so true. Because she doesn't actually find it. She just sees the receipt and the picture. She never actually finds that. I know. I thought the same thing. I was like, well, did you find it?
At the end of the scene, Ethel should have at least been like, but respectfully,
like, where's
can someone find my birth certificate? Anyway, whatever. So then it cuts to the Andrews residence, and they all say bye to Frank. They're like, peace, don't let the door hit you out of the way. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Archie even like finishes up. He does say like, no hard feelings, bro. Like you're just like a loser uncle. And he says, by the way, people do write poems, and they can be soldiers too. Like it's not like a non-masculine thing to do. There are actually poems that were really, really good from people who like went to war. So go fuck yourself, bro. You didn't even go to war.
Like literally.
And then this part killed me. So he's like saying bye, and then he's like, I might join the army. Who knows? Mary, they cut the camera to Mary. Mary looks at him.
Wait, who said that? Archie or Frank?
Yeah, Archie, because he's like, I don't know what my path's gonna be like. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will join the army. Like, who knows? As he says that, Mary, like, literally the camera pans to her, and she's like, she literally shakes her head.
She's like, this is why I like women. She's like, I can't with you guys.
Dumbass son. She's like, bro, I literally am kicking your uncle out so you don't go to the army. Bro, why the fuck
Archie
are you
can't
going
read
to
the room? Like, she's so stupid. It's actually so dumb.
Man. I died. That was so funny. Like, Mary's like, stop with the army, bro. Fuck. Anyway, so then it cuts to Cheryl and Jughead in the dark room. They're processing their film, and Cheryl right off the top answers the question that we always say constantly. She's like, we should send these to Tom Keller. And Jughead's like, no, I don't trust that man.
like he's like the worst.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
And then Jughead's like, he might be a part of this. And Cheryl's like, no, he's just stupid. She just literally says what we've all been thinking.
Yeah.
He's not even smart enough to be a conspiracy.
He's just dumb.
He's just a fucking dolt. Like, that is his only fucking role. We like gave him way too much credit. So then it cuts to Jughead Jughead says Veronica might know some agents because like she connects with like the FBI or whatever. And the final picture that gets like developed is like Jughead literally like leaning on an atomic bomb. I'm like, bro, there's an atomic bomb right behind you. What are you doing?
Ma, look at me. Look at me.
Like, look it over there. It's coming from.
Crazy.
Anyways, the next morning, Cheryl brings the FBI in and they arrest Clifford and Penelope. And then you find out the whole like situation. His plan was to create the bomb for Russia. She was a sleeper agent. Penelope was a sleeper agent.
Also, like, they would never say their secret. Like, they would die before they said their secret.
Yeah, Penelope would have 100, but they had, I guess, evidence. But
true.
This is when you find out that Brad Rayberry got killed because he like knew too much about the palladium, whatever, and they had to explain, because I was like, then why didn't they kill him like back when he used to work there? They killed him later because like he was back on the map, essentially. Like,
what does that mean?
Because he was pushing about like suing them for like Jughead going to school. Remember when he was like, oh, well, I'll take this to Supreme Court. And then they were like, oh shit, like he's about to cause some trouble. So blah, 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 he dies. And then they killed the Muggses because they knew about the palladium, essentially. So they were like, all these people just needed to die.
Connected, so that really solves that case, that murder case, right?
That does solve it, but in a way that's kind of doesn't make sense to me, because also when did he find out that Ethel's dad knew about this? Like, I
guess at the start of the season.
At the start of the season, we just like that was like the inciting incident. Like he just finds out somehow. Like that could, like, to your point, would have been a great nugget, y'all. Like, would have been a nice moment to like just see. So we'd be like, oh, let's pay attention to that. Or like you'll never see it until the end of the season. Be like, oh, it was that exchange that they had at the front at the fence. They were yelling at each other. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
it's interesting, right? Because like if they hadn't stopped this, right? Like if Cheryl hadn't gotten in the way, if Jughead hadn't gotten in the way, would they have built an atomic bomb and would it have exploded?
Legit, or they would have sent it to Russia.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing. I think they were sending it to
Russia. Yeah.
Anyway, who cares? So they stopped it. But my question too was, what happens to the twins? Like Cheryl and Julian can't just like live in this gigantic. Oh, I guess Nana's still there.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Where's Nana?
I miss her. 3 episodes left. Whatever.
I know. Legit, you're like, who gives a shit?
You're like trying to like solve everything. I'm like,
don't. Why are you doing that? So then the final part is like Pop's Diner. Jughead basically tells Ethel the whole story, and once again, Ethel's like,
I'm done.
I
love how like disconnected she was. She was like, I'm out, deuces. Like, I don't care. Don't tell me what you want to do next episode. I don't need to watch the promo. Like, I am done. I'm out. Like, I will not be watching this recap. She's out. She's out.
She is done. She's like,
I love that for her though. Like, I really did. Seeing her like with her boyfriend and like her hair's like waving and she's the one like driving. I'm like, this is so cute.
She had no fucks.
She got her license.
No, she got her birth certificate. She moved on with her life. She might not even have her birth certificate. We don't even know.
She might be a sleeper agent. We don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
But Ethel doesn't even care. She's like, don't got it? Don't care. I'm fucking out. Bye, Riverdale. I'm never coming back here again.
Yeah, and like I love the way like Veronica set her up for life. I was like, bro, why don't you go do that?
Where was my Veronica? Why did we get set up in fucking Hollywood, girl? What the hell?
Veronica's like, I sent her here and I put her here and I put her here. And I was like, why don't you go live that life?
You're an animator now. Yeah, exactly. Veronica. Anyway, whatever. Veronica helps. Cute. One of the things that I thought was annoying, but it made sense why, just because like rush. Veronica like was not involved in this episode.
No, she really, at all. And that's like, okay. I don't think it had anything to do with her really.
It's okay in the sense that that's fine, but at the same time, I'm just like, once again.
But she was with Josie a lot last week.
She was with Josie a lot last week. Yeah. That's true. But like, once again, like Veronica Lodge's story is always like far removed from everyone else's.
I wouldn't say that. I feel like they've done a good job.
She wasn't involved this whole episode.
I know, but last week she got way more than they did. Like Jughead was like non-existent last week too. Yeah, right?
But this was like the wrap up. Like not even her shady ass family was involved in any of this. Like,
they went there. It had nothing to do with her, and I think I was okay with that. Like I didn't.
Yeah, no, she didn't need to be a part of it. But I was just like, oh yeah, Veronica's here. Like,
I will say,
Mendes just shows up and she's like, hey.
She's like, hey, the wig is still on. I will say, I did really love her and Josie last week. Like,
oh my gosh,
I loved watching them on screen together,
good.
and I just forgot how much
good.
chemistry the two actresses have together. Like, there was something really beautiful. They looked like they had a lot of fun doing that episode, so that made me really happy. Yeah,
it gave us like what we wanted, like like I wanted to see that, and I got what I needed.
And it took me back to like when Veronica like joined the Pussycats for like 5 minutes. Remember that?
That was so good. Yeah. As we go,
it very much felt like that. And even this episode when like Ethel left, like I felt like people were like sad, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So that's the end of the episode. She drives away, and then everything turns into color. He does say something like Jughead or Ethel was like the first of many to leave, or
she was the first to go. He
first
said.
To go.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay,
like go where?
Like where?
Recap roundups.
Let's do that. Recap roundups.
Recap roundups. Best moment.
My best moment, I think, has to be kicking out Frank, because like it all like I feel like culminated to this one episode where like I was so angry at him. Like,
yeah, like it was building.
Like,
yeah.
And then when she finally said like get out of my house, I was like, thank you
Jesus, thank you Lord.
Mary.
Not Jesus. Not Jesus. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. My best moment is going to Ethel's goodbye.
Yeah.
It was cute.
Part
Everybody
2.
saw her off. Yeah, this is the second one, the final one, hopefully. I thought it was cute.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, bye, Shannon Person forever. Like,
and I like how they added the color at the end. I just didn't understand why we didn't have color. I was like, okay, whatever.
Precisely. There's no reason for it. But anyway.
WTF moment.
What was your WTF moment?
WTF moment, I think definitely your moment too. But if I didn't have to choose that, I would say like just seeing Clifford and Penelope be like Russian spies. I thought that was such a cool twist and such a cool storyline to like put in there, especially at that time and stuff. I wanted a bit more of that. It sucked that it ended so quickly, but yeah, like this whole like Americans storyline within Riverdale was really cool.
Loved it. Yeah. My WTF moment is Hal being Ethel's dad. I think that was like total left turn. Didn't really expect it. I was like, whoa.
How could they not drop any hints? How could they not drop a single hint?
They could have done a few things for sure to make us feel like we were a part of the story a little bit.
And sure, looking back,
looking
back now that Hal was like being nice, but like he could have just been being nice. Like that's not like, oh, it's my daughter. Like
exactly
like, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like someone could have been like, oh my god, Hal, like she has your eyes or something. Like you guys look like you guys look similar. Like a comment like that where like it's more like, huh? Like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? You guys have
also or because Betty and Ethel are the same age, Alice maybe in the past could have made a comment like, oh yeah, me and her were pregnant at the same time.
Well,
you know, because then it would have been like, oh wow.
But then she wouldn't have slipped up. We're talking about Alice Cooper. She wouldn't.
But you know what I mean? Like something subtle maybe like that. That's all I'm saying. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways,
MVP.
Who's your MVP?
It's gonna go to Mary.
Ooh, girl.
Mary. There's something about Mary.
There's something about Mary.
Kicking that fucking useless motherfucker out of her house.
Yeah, bye, girl. My MVP is gonna go to Jughead. Yeah, I think he did stuff too. Like he really rocked it.
I will say when the episode started, I'm like, oh, here we fucking go. Here we go with this guy's episode. Because I always end up hating his episodes, but I have to say this one was really, really good. So yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. And they like I do like the relationship. Like just to finish off the whole thing, like with Ethel and Jughead like hugging at the end. How he was like, we're such good pals. Like I love that they like really framed their relationship like that by the end of it all, because this will they won't they, like is he even interested, like it was just
they
like
skirted around that really well, I felt like, and they handled it like very diplomatically.
They did. The one thing that stood out to me this episode is how shocked Jughead was about Ben. Like she was like, you mean Ben?
I feel like he was kind of jealous.
I was like, are you jealous or what? Like, do you like Ethel or not? Or is this gonna be like a moment? Like what's gonna happen? Are you gonna drive away with her? Like what's going on with Tabitha? Like what the fuck, bro? Like aren't you dating Veronica? Anyways, whatever. Then it cuts to that's always my go-to, eh?
Then it cuts to
there's
LVP.
No cuts to LVP. Who's your LVP? LVP.
My LVP was Frank.
Oh yeah.
For sure. just because he's such a effing waste man. I just and overall, just his arc even like was kind of like a flop. Like he doesn't really make a difference. He doesn't like get better. He doesn't redeem himself. He's a flop the whole time. So
he just Flopiana. He just like goes on to be so like completely useless. Doesn't really do much past like just be a dick the entire time.
Like feel guilty at least after.
Then, at the very end, because he still like holds on to
for God's
his
sakes.
like
It's like here's my rent money that I've been mooching off of you.
Go do something productive with your life, Frank. Go join a farm.
Like, how are you preaching about manhood and you have no job?
And you're a waste man? You want to talk about manhood?
Living in your dead brother's home.
Bro,
like,
get out of here.
Come on, no.
Who are you?
No.
Oh my God, Frank. Yeah, LVP of the entire series, I think. Especially this episode, like you said, like you didn't even have an arc. By the end of it, you were just like, deuces. Like
by the end, he was like, I guess I'll go live with another loser, Tom Keller. I'm like, that's your ending? Like, that's how you're gonna walk away from this?
Dude, you get back here and you repent for what you fucking did to us.
Oh my God, it was so bad.
LVP goes to his partner in crime.
Yeah.
And hopefully in bed, Tom Keller, for literally being the most waste character aside from Frank in this entire season.
Yeah.
Like, he was so waste.
Yeah. The best line. I don't have a best line. You say yours.
Mine is what do you want? And it's Ethel pulls a Beyonce and she goes, I want to be happy. And she says, I want to move on with my life and I want to start over. And really, those last two lines spoke to me because I was just like, bye, Riverdale. I was like, I want to move on with my life and I want to start over from season one. Because, girl.
Exactly. Where are we right now?
Who are we right now? So that is it. Before we get into our listener roundups, I just wanted to shout out at Jiffy Pop Culture, who says, why does this entire season feel like it was just an Ethel Muggs origin story? I literally spent half of tonight's episode yelling, shut the F up, Frank, and the other half yelling, yas, Mary. Very the vibes.
Funny.
Let's go through our listener roundups.
Let's do it.
So at Zephron's Ninja says, best moment, Mary standing up for Archie and kicking Frank out of the house. WTF moment, Penelope and Clifford's whole storyline. MVP Mary, LVP Frank. Best line, Mary saying Archie should be able to make his own decisions without Frank bullying him. Let's get the fuck out of here, Frank. Our girl Mackenzie Burns says, okay, so all I got to say is, so what about this episode? For so many things, it's like, and we know that most of these reveals / like we could have guessed them. I don't know. I felt like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't think some of them
not
were
all
not,
of them.
Not like a few gags, like for sure, like Clifford being behind the milkman part.
Yeah, just like, we just don't know how or like why
or like how that was kind of a gag. Best moment, Mary finally kicking Frank out of the house.
This was Frank's mustache
for that to happen.
Episode. This was Frank's mustache. It was like this. It was like this.
Like,
it got like
shut
so
up, Archie.
thin.
So he literally looked like a villain.
Yeah.
Like he was about to steal a train. Sorry, best moment, Mary finally kicking Frank out of the house. Took too many episodes for that to happen. He should have been gone living somewhere after the 6th episode.
So kind.
Storming into Archie's room at night as a peep show was happening. True. Do you remember this season when we were having like a cute Barchie moment and now here we are and like Veronica's dating Jughead? Like,
yeah.
WTF moment, that the Hal and Alice be a big secret was that Hal is Ethel's biological father, really, and we're supposed to care why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like another storyline. MVP Mary Andrews for putting Frank in his place. LVP Alice Cooper basically insinuating that if Betty and Archie were to get married, he would cheat and have a baby with another woman. That's very true. And the reason why she pushed Kevin to pin Betty. Best line, the credits, because the nonsense was over. Y'all are so savage.
Savage with that best line.
Ash 25 on it. Not really a fan of this episode. Best I was like, damn. But best moment, Jughead and Cheryl scenes. WTF, Alice's excuse for basically being an awful mother. No redemption for her. Agreed. MVP, Cheryl for getting rid of her dad. LVP, the writers for this story, and not including Tony, but including Ethel. It's the last season with 2 episodes to go, and we really don't know much about Tony. That's very true. We've met Ethel's parents, Kevin's mom, and Uncle Frank, but nothing for Tony. I give up, and it was annoying that this episode was in black and white too. Agreed. Especially when Cheryl looked too so good. Yeah, true. Best line, you did a bad thing, Daddy. Parallels to season 1. In fact, it's the same line. When he gets arrested. Is it when he gets arrested? Yeah.
Very good. Very good with that
That's a good catch. At Sierran says, okay, I'm finally invested again. I knew that the last 3 episodes will pull me back in. Did the wrap-ups feel a little rushed, and could we have had a little bit more lead time with these answers? Yes, but at this point I just want to go back to the time travel of it all, and we are next week, so I'm ready. I didn't know that. Best moment, probably the Cheryl and Jughead moments. Like, I needed more of these two together across the whole show. I agree. I really like them together. They've never really done the Cheryl Jughead combo. So I was like, really, they played with each other really well.
Yeah, it was good.
They work as an investigator duo so much better than Bughead, in my opinion, and I love their dynamic. Ooh,
well, we also haven't gotten a lot of Bughead at all, like at all. So
no, it did not exist in this universe whatsoever. WTF moment, the Ethel reveal, like, cool. It does make a lot of sense and it does track, but I'm gonna assume it has nothing to do with the main plot we're getting into next episode. So again, I'm a question, why does Ethel matter this season? What was the point? Though I love Shannon Purser, so it's fine. MVP, Cheryl Jughead, again, an amazing dynamic, should have gotten more of, but also because we finally got a plot again because of them. I've already said everything, but yeah, I love these two. LVP Frank, but now he's gone. Thank fuck, this man annoyed the hell out of me. Best line, I'm the woman of the house. I'm the one that pays the mortgage around here. Mary stays the best adult character next to Fred. 100%.
Yeah, agreed.
And that is, did I get everybody? I think I got everybody.
Yeah, I think so.
Boom.
Boom.
Thank you everyone for writing in. We really appreciate it, as always. And I would like to take this time to thank our patrons of the episode, our Rewinder Squad. We have White, Cliff, Hannah, Julia, and Haley. Our Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann and Kate. And our Mommy Rewinders, Becca Sarah.
Thank you guys. If you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind.
And also make sure you're checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. And you can also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.